Welcome to Neko Novel.
The correct sequence, alert plus gather, successfully recruits the flock, but the reverse sequence fails because the birds do not understand the message.
Okay, so let's just unpack that quote for a second. It sounds like something from, I don't know, a computer science manual.
Right, but it's not. It's about a bird, a common garden bird.
And that's what we're getting into today. We're doing a deep dive into an amazing piece of Japanese nonfiction by Dr. Suzuki Toshitaka. The book is Kotoba Omotsu Tori Shijukara,
Which translates to The Great Tit, a bird with language. And that title isn't hyperbole.
Not at all. I mean, this book systematically proves that this little bird, the Shijukara, has two of the most fundamental properties of human language.
It's incredible. We're talking about referential words, so specific nouns for specific things, and compositional syntax.
Basically, grammar. The ability to combine words in a specific order to create a new meaning.
And that's the core of it. This book is, it's so important on two different levels. Scientifically, it's groundbreaking. It completely overturns that old idea that animal calls are just raw emotion.
Just squawks of fear or happiness?
Exactly. But the second part, and this is maybe even more interesting, is how it's used in Japan. It's actually part of the junior high school curriculum.
Right, as a masterclass in how you build a rock-solid argument.
So our mission for you, the listener, is to really see how a scientist uses patient, meticulous evidence, the Japanese curriculum calls it kankyo, to build his case and, change our entire understanding of animal communication.
So before we get into the science, we have to talk about the man behind it, because his authority is kind of the whole point here. This isn't a pop science writer.
No, this is the guy, the primary researcher, Dr. Suzuki Toshitaka.
And he's not just a contributor to a field, he literally invented one. He proposed and established a brand new discipline he calls animal linguistics.
Or Dubutsu Gengo Gaku. And he's got the credentials to back it up. He's an associate professor at the University of Tokyo's Research Center for Advanced Science and Technology.
We're talking top of the top. His work gets published in places like Nature Communications and PNAS.
Which, for anyone who doesn't follow academic publishing, that's the absolute peak.
And he's won major awards like the Tinbergen Lecture Award.
Yeah.
This is not fringe science.
Not at all. It's the cutting edge. And that is precisely why the curriculum designers in Japan chose this text. Think about it.
You're 12 years old, first year of junior high.
And you're not reading a summary of the science. You're reading the discovery story directly from the person who made the discovery. You're connecting directly with the birth of a new scientific field.
Which brings us to a really curious point. This book, it's not in the science textbook.
No.
It was adopted in 2021 into the Kokugo textbook. That's Japanese language arts.
Right. Language class.
So why on earth are they using a story about bird grammar to teach language?
Because the lesson isn't really about the birds. It's metacognitive. It's about teaching students the anatomy of a perfect argument, a type of explanatory writing they call setsumaibun.
The relationship between a claim and the evidence.
The shuchu and the kankyo. The students learn what makes a powerful argument by reading this incredible story of a scientist who has to prove his own powerful argument.
So the structure of the story is the lesson.
It's the lesson. It teaches them that a strong argument isn't just shouting an opinion. It's a carefully built narrative where every single claim is backed up by hard evidence.
And it even gets into data literacy, which I think is just fascinating for a language arts class.
Oh, yeah. The teaching materials explicitly ask the students, okay, why did the author include these graphs? Why more than one?
And the lesson is, what? That numbers make the story stronger.
That quantitative data, the graphs, makes the qualitative story, the observations in the forest, exponentially more persuasive. It teaches them how to build an unassailable case.
Okay, let's get to that case, the discovery itself. Because the story is it's a fantastic scientific detective story.
It is. It all begins in the forests of Kuroizawa. Dr. Suzuki is just out there listening, making these key observations.
And he starts noticing patterns. He hears one call, G, and the birds all gather.
Right. They assemble. Then here's another call, hee-hee, and they all scatter. They flee. And moments later, a hawk flies by.
Now, lots of animals have alarm calls. What made him think this was something more than just a generic danger squawk?
The specificity. Most animal alarms are what we call graded. A louder scream means more danger. But Suzuki suspected these were referential. They didn't just mean danger. They meant danger from this specific thing.
A word.
A word. And he proves it. He built a whole vocabulary. Hee-hee-hee means hawk, the predator from the sky. Ja-ja means snake, the predator on the ground.
And then you have the other calls, the more verb-like ones.
Exactly. Pete-soupy, which is like alert or watch out. And Gigi, which means gather here or assemble.
Let's talk about the jaw snake experiment. Because proving that a sound means snake to a bird, that took him 4 years.
4 years. It just shows the patience involved. The claim was, does jaw actually evoke the concept of a snake, or is it just a general warning about something on the ground?
So how do you test that? You can't just release snakes everywhere.
No, it had to be controlled. So they came up with this really elegant method. They took a stick, and using a fishing line and pulley, they made it slowly slither up a tree trunk.
To simulate a snake.
To simulate a snake climbing. And while this stick snake was moving, they played the recorded jaw call.
But a skeptic could say, well, the birds are just reacting to a weird moving stick. How did he prove it was about the idea of a snake?
Ah, that's the rigor. That's the PNAS level science. They ran control tests. They'd play the jaw call, and the tits would fly down to the base of the tree and approach the stick, inspecting it, looking for the snake.
They were investigating.
Yes, mobbing behavior. But when they played the hee-hee-hee call, the birds did the opposite. They froze or flew high up into the canopy to hide. The behavior was completely different.
Because the word was different. It proved the call triggered a specific mental image. A snake.
It's a noun.
So once he's established they have nouns and verbs, he moves on to grammar. And this is where my mind really starts to bend.
This is where the great Tit becomes a linguistic genius.
They combine words. They make sentences.
Absolutely. The syntax experiment is the proof. He observed them using a compound call. Pete-soupy followed by G.
So alert plus gather.
Meaning, hey, watch out, and everyone get over here now to mob this threat.
So the test was to see if the order of those words actually mattered.
Precisely. They set up a stuffed shrike, a type of predatory bird, and played 2 different sequences. First, the correct syntax. Alert plus gather.
And the birds.
They went nuts. They flew in, they mobbed the stuffed shrike. The message was received loud and clear.
And then they played the reverse.
Yep.
Gather plus alert.
Total failure.
Yeah.
Nothing. The birds heard the sounds, but the command was gibberish to them.
Because the grammar was wrong.
The grammar was wrong. That is undeniable, experimental proof of an order-dependent grammatical rule in a non-human.
That alone is revolutionary. But he took it one step further.
He did. This is the truly mind-bending part of the research, the test for something called merge, or hey-go.
And merge in human linguistics is, well, it's considered by some to be the core operation of human language. It's how we bind concepts together.
Right. It's the difference between hearing blue and house as 2 separate things versus understanding the single concept of a blue house. Suzuki wanted to know if the tits were doing that.
Were they just hearing alert and then gather as 2 separate commands?
Or were their brains cognitively binding them into one single unified instruction? Alert and gather.
How in the world do you design an experiment to test for an internal cognitive operation like that in a wild bird?
It was so clever, so ingenious. They compared 2 conditions. Condition 1. A single loudspeaker plays the correct full sequence. Pitsupi jijijiji, a single unified voice.
Okay.
Condition 2. They use 2 loudspeakers, placed a short distance apart. One speaker plays Pitsupi, and the other speaker simultaneously plays jijijiji.
So the birds hear the exact same sounds at the exact same time, but coming from 2 different places.
Exactly. It's testing if the source needs to be unified for the message to make sense.
And the result?
The result was astonishing. The tits only mogged the predator in the single speaker condition.
Wow.
When the 2 sounds came from 2 different sources, the message was incomprehensible. They didn't act.
So that implies they aren't just hearing 2 commands. Their brain requires the signal to come from a single unified source to process it as a single merged intention.
It's the first experimental evidence for the cognitive operation of merge in any non-human animal. It suggests that the deep foundational mechanisms of language might be way, way older than we ever thought.
And you can see why this story just took off in Japan. I mean, it sold over 170,000 copies. It won major literary awards. People were captivated by this scientific journey.
Of course. And putting it in the curriculum is so powerful because it forces young students to confront these really entrenched traditional ideas. You still have zoologists who say comparing animal calls to human language is almost childish.
That animal words don't really have meaning.
Exactly. But Suzuki's work isn't an opinion. It's a direct, empirical counterargument. He's giving these 12-year-olds the data, the evidence for referentiality, for syntax, for merge. He's showing them how science is done.
The ultimate lesson is in critical thinking.
It is. It trains them to always ask, okay, but what's your evidence? What's your concio? When you read about the 4-year struggle just to prove the snake call, you learn that the science is patient and rigorous. It's an essential skill in an age of, instant information and misinformation.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound final thought. If a common bird, a great tit, has this cognitive operation merge, which has long been considered the absolute core of what makes human language special, what does that say about everything else we haven't discovered yet? How much of what we call human language is actually unique, and how much is just a matter of scale?
This was Neko Novel.